Well, we've got some tea to spill. The iconic 99-cent Arizona tea cans may now cost you more.
Have you ever imagined that even a simple bottle of iced tea could turn into a luxury item? It sounds absurd, but it's happening right now in America's most budget-friendly stores: Walmart, Costco, and beyond. The bottled teas you once grabbed for under $1 are quietly climbing in price at a startling pace. And it's not because the ingredients have changed. It's not because the product suddenly became premium. What's driving this shift is inflation, import tariffs, and skyrocketing shipping costs, with everyday American consumers left holding the bill. Just in the past few months, some of the best-selling bottled tea brands at Walmart and Costco have started hiking prices, some directly, others by quietly shrinking their bottles. Either way, the result is the same: working families, seniors, and low-income households are forced to pay more for something that used to be one of the most affordable drinks on the shelf. So what's really going on in the US bottled tea market? Number 1, Arizona iced tea. Do you remember the first time you saw that giant can of Arizona tea sitting on the front shelf of the supermarket for just 99 cents? Maybe it was 10 years ago. Maybe it was just last week. Same price, same size. It felt untouchable, as if time itself couldn't change it. But the next time you head back to Walmart, that might no longer be true. Arizona iced tea, the drink that has been the ultimate symbol of affordability for more than 3 decades, is now facing its very first price hike in 33 years. It may sound small, but for millions of working-class Americans and retirees, this is a real shock. The big question is, why would a brand that has refused to raise prices for decades suddenly reconsider? They held the line through inflation. They survived the financial crisis. They never budged, even when everything else around them was getting more expensive. The reason can be summed up in 3 words: import tariffs. More specifically, aluminum tariffs. Aluminum might not sound like it has anything to do with tea, but it's the very material used to make every single one of those 22-ounce cans you grab when you're thirsty. Nearly 20% of Arizona's aluminum comes from Canada, and the US just doubled the tariff on Canadian aluminum from 25 to 50%. That means production costs are soaring, profits are being squeezed, and the last person left to cover the difference is, of course, the customer. Company chairman Don Voltaggio once said, "I don't want people to have to pay more just to enjoy something they've always loved." But with rising costs across the board, from shipping to fuel to insurance, keeping that promise is becoming harder and harder. And here's the ironic twist: Arizona hasn't officially raised its prices yet, but retailers already have. At some convenience stores, that 22-ounce Arizona can no longer sit at 99 cents. Prices have jumped to $1.29, even $1.49, while the can itself still boldly prints 99 cents like a broken promise from another time. That's when you realize the trust tied to that number has finally been broken. It feels a bit like going back to your old neighborhood, looking for that $1 bakery you grew up with, only to find it's now a faceless convenience chain, twice the price, bright lights, no memories left. Arizona was the last safe haven for the poor man's wallet, a place where a single dollar guaranteed you relief from thirst. Now the answer lies in global aluminum prices, new trade policies, and the quiet choices made by distributors. So what do you do when even the one untouchable bargain finally slips out of reach? Do you keep the habit and pay a little extra, or do you give it up completely? This isn't just a story about tea, it's a signal. Because if Arizona can't hold the line anymore, then nothing else is truly cheap. Number 2, Oi Ocha Green Tea. Have you ever tried switching from soda to green tea? Maybe your doctor suggested it, or maybe you just wanted something light, refreshing, and sugar-free after work. Oi Ocha Green Tea, bottled straight from Japan, used to feel like the perfect choice. No flavoring, no sweeteners, no artificial colors, just water, tea leaves, and peace of mind. But lately, have you noticed the price creeping up quietly? If you shop at Costco or order a case on Amazon, you may have seen that a 12-pack of Oi Ocha is now nearly 15 to 20% more expensive than before. No announcement, no warning. Just your receipt telling the truth. The US has raised tariffs on consumer goods from Japan by 24%. And Oi Ocha, made bottled and shipped directly from Japan, was never going to escape that list. At one point, they considered building a factory in the US. But with operating costs climbing, land and labor getting more expensive, the only option left was to shift the burden onto consumers. And here's what stings: Oi Ocha isn't some boutique luxury brand. It's not for the wealthy trying to signal wellness. It has been the go-to drink for millions of middle-aged Americans who wanted something better than soda, but still affordable. When even a brand like that starts quietly raising prices, it signals something bigger. It means the market is slowly pushing healthy living out of reach for people with lower incomes. If you're living on Social Security or counting every dollar, will you really keep buying unsweetened tea at $20 a case? Or will you fall back on cheap, sugary soda? Nobody protests when the change is slow. The price didn't double overnight. The bottles haven't disappeared from shelves. But if every month you pay a few dollars more just to keep one small healthy habit, then over a year that adds up to gas money milk for the grandkids, or blood pressure medication. Some might shrug and say, cut it out, it's no big deal. But the concern isn't about a single bottle of tea. It's about the creeping feeling that every small choice, every good habit is being squeezed away slowly by forces you can't control. If today it's unsweetened green tea, tomorrow it could be olive oil, then brown rice, then whole grain bread. And while ads keep preaching health and green living, the very products that make that lifestyle possible are drifting further out of reach for the people who need them most. Do you still remember why you first chose Oi Ocha? Maybe it was to live better, stay healthier, and save in the long run. Now look at its price and ask yourself, does this system really want you to be healthy? Number 3, Gold Peak. Do you remember when you could grab a 12-pack of Gold Peak for just a little over $5? That was a real deal. Not fancy tea by any means, but good enough to cool you down. Share around the dinner table, toss in the truck, or keep in the fridge for the kids. That story looks very different now. The same pack of tea has climbed past $7 at Walmart, and in some higher cost areas, it is pushing close to $8. But the real story is not just the price tag, it is how quietly that price has crept up. No one is announcing that Gold Peak is getting more expensive. No headlines, no press releases about a price adjustment. Yet if you look closely, you will notice the bottles are a little smaller, the pack's a little thinner. Even the taste feels a bit different, and the feeling has changed too. It no longer feels like generosity within limits. It feels like every ounce is being carefully calculated. Instead of raising the sticker price outright, Gold Peak went with a hidden adjustment, shrinking each bottle from 18.5 ounces to 16.9. A tiny difference that your eyes might miss, but your wallet absolutely notices. What does that mean? It means you are paying more for less and nobody is pointing it out. Not because you do not care, but because life is busy and it is easy to miss how all these small changes stack up into something much heavier. Ever stop and calculate it? A family of 4 going through a 12-pack of Gold Peak every week could lose out on over $100 a year once you factor in the price jump and the downsized bottles. For a lot of households, that is gas money or a doctor's visit, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind it all are the rising costs of doing business in America, fuel, labor, insurance, supply chains. Companies like Coca-Cola, which owns Gold Peak, are under pressure to protect their profit margins. The problem is they are not trimming profits, they are trimming what you get. Ever wonder why the packs look the same size even though they hold less? That is no accident. It is design. Designed to trick your eyes to reassure your brain that you are still getting enough, while in reality you are giving up a little more each time so the company can cover its swelling costs. Gold Peak was never meant to be luxury tea. It was built for middle-class families, for working people who just wanted something pleasant at the end of a long day. But even this little comfort can no longer stay honest. You can still buy it, of course, but maybe it is time to ask yourself, am I buying a drink or an illusion? Number 4, Snapple. When was the last time you had a Snapple? Maybe it was in a little corner store out in the suburbs. Maybe it was at an old gas station off the highway. Or maybe it was on a hot lunch break, sitting in your car, twisting off that glass cap and hearing that familiar little pop. That used to be Snapple, a drink that carried memories, a product with a soul. But now something feels different. It is not just the packaging. Snapple has switched completely from glass to plastic bottles. A small change on paper, but one that left a lot of people feeling strangely disconnected. Some might say it is still tea. Maybe so. But something is not right anymore. Holding a Snapple just does not feel the same. It is lighter. The bottle dents easier. The cap no longer gives that sharp pop. You might think that is just a tiny detail. But it is in those tiny details that people realized a product they once trusted, one that felt personal, has turned into just another mass market item. Did they change the packaging to cut costs? Probably, to make shipping easier, maybe. But no one asked us if that was what we wanted. And then there is the price. Over the last year, Snapple quietly raised prices across major chains, especially on its all-natural and low-sugar lines that are popular among middle-aged shoppers. In some northeastern supermarkets, a single bottle now sells for over $2.29 for something that was once known as the fun and affordable choice. On top of that, fan favorites like raspberry tea and mango madness are harder to find, or they only show up in multi-flavor packs, forcing you to buy a whole set just to get the one you actually like. No one officially said they stopped selling Snapple, but it is no longer as easy to reach for as it once was. And the question is, who are they changing for? If the market no longer values loyal customers, if the people who stuck with a brand for decades are now being pushed aside, then who exactly are they serving? Snapple may still be Snapple in name, but for many, it is no longer the drink they once chose. It is just a version that traded away its identity to survive in a colder market. The real concern is not a tea bottle changing its packaging, it is how many other familiar things will quietly disappear, all to fit into the mold of modern manufacturing trends. You can still buy Snapple, of course, but maybe one day you will realize you are not drinking it because you love it anymore, but simply because you have not found something else that makes you feel respected as a customer. Number 5, Pure Leaf. Have you ever walked past the cold drink aisle at the supermarket, spotted a bottle of Pure Leaf, picked it up, and then put it back down? Not because you didn't like it, but because the price made you think twice. Unsweetened tea, lemon flavor, a sturdy bottle, a brand owned by PepsiCo and Unilever. Just by looking at it, you can tell it's premium. But here's the question, why is something advertised as natural, clean, and healthy priced so high that not everyone can afford it? There's a bitter irony here, the healthier it is, the more expensive it gets. And that no longer just applies to salmon or almonds. It now applies to a simple bottle of iced tea. Over the past year, the average price of a Pure Leaf at Walmart has jumped from around $1.78 to over $2.39 in many states. That's an increase of more than 30%, with no change in size or quality. Same unsweetened tea, same packaging, same promise of pure, but the price you pay isn't the same anymore. Now imagine you're older, living with diabetes, your doctor tells you to avoid artificial sweeteners and stick to natural products with no preservatives. You see Pure Leaf, you know it's good, but you also know it doesn't fit into your weekly grocery budget anymore. So what do? Switch to something cheaper loaded with sugar and artificial flavors, or cut iced tea out of your diet altogether, which means you're forced to give up a healthier choice, simply because your wallet can't keep up. This isn't just a personal struggle. It reflects a bigger issue. The right to live healthy is turning into a privilege, not a basic right. Pure Leaf isn't wrong for charging more. They use real tea leaves brewed cold, no artificial flavors, no synthetic colors. They have a reason to position themselves higher. But what frustrates consumers lies elsewhere. It's in the fact that everything better seems to demand more money from ordinary people, while wages, pensions, and benefits remain stuck in place. Sure, you can choose not to buy, but do you still feel respected when the market seems to be pushing you away from the best options? Pure Leaf may still be on the shelf, but it's slowly turning into a luxury treat for people who may not even need it as much as you do. And you can't help but wonder, does the system really want you to live long and healthy? Or just long enough to keep spending on cheaper, more convenient, and riskier products? It's an uncomfortable question, but when you find yourself putting back a bottle of iced tea you once bought without thinking simply because the price feels too high, it's hard to ignore. You probably never thought a bottle of iced tea could make you hesitate. But in an age where every cost is climbing, where inflation spares nothing, not even the most ordinary items, even a simple choice like bottled tea is no longer straightforward. From Arizona's shaky 99-cent promise to Pure Leaf being pushed out of reach for everyday shoppers, each brand on this list is just one slice of a bigger picture. Working people, seniors, and those with lower incomes are losing the power to choose, even in life's smallest things. And if something as simple as drinking a cold bottle of tea now requires second thoughts, then this isn't just about price anymore.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.